Welcome back. We're now in round 4 of the Team Serious Virtual Realm Middle School event. We have Eric Caffrey versus Bob Agra.
And unsurprisingly, as it's been every time this tournament, we have some sweet decks for you. So yeah, we have a build from Eric Caffrey that is lands, I think, in a scripture.
Lands, I think, is good.
Yeah, Upheaval Mana Bond is the main combo. It has Standstill and some man lands as well, but the main idea here is cast Upheaval, cast Mana Bond, put all your lands back down, and laugh at your opponent because they no longer can do that. And Bob Agra is playing Aluren. A cool build. He has the 2 different kill conditions here. One of them is G2 Slinger, bounced over and over again to deal you 2. And then also Ambassador Loquatus, which beats, I guess, infinite life, which you can bounce your Wall of Roots to make infinite mana, and then Ambassador Loquatus someone out. I'm surprised, looking at his list, that he doesn't have a way to gain life. So he could get low enough that he can't actually go off with some of those things. But we'll see.
Sure.
He has a pretty cool one, so I'm excited for this.
Sorry, I'm looking at Bob's list now. Doesn't Spike Weaver gain life?
Oh, I missed Spike Weaver. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Feeder. It's Spike Feeder. You're right. He does have Spike Feeder to gain life.
Feeder, yeah. So he can gain life.
Yep.
Yeah, and how does the Aluren combo work for everyone? I mean,
so one thing that's cool about this is it's the middle school version as opposed to the versions from Extended at this time period. So we have access to Imperial Recruiter, which makes it easier. So Aluren plus Imperial Recruiter should win the game, but it takes a little bit. So Imperial Recruiter gets more copies of itself until you get to the last one in your deck. Then it gets a thing that can bounce Imperial Recruiter, which in this deck I believe is Arctic Merfolk, but some people play Manowar. You play the Imperial Recruiter again, you go get a Cavern Harpy. Cavern Harpy bounces Arctic Merfolk. Arctic Merfolk bounces Imperial Recruiter. At that point, you can tutor for whatever you want, bounce whatever you want, so you can get any of the win conditions.
Right.
But yeah, pretty cool. And the fact that he's managed to cut out a color with the Spike Feeders is actually a pretty neat thing. I think that's a powerful line. Sure. And Spike Feeder is a better card maybe than whatever the white card. I can't remember what it's called. Soul Attendant? Soul something? The one that gains...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also got Living Wishes there, so he's got redundant copies of all his stuff in his sideboard, which is kind of neat.
Yep. Including, most importantly, that Imperial Recruiter, because it is a 2-card combo, so it gives him an extra 4 copies of that. Mm-hmm. The tough part about this deck is you need Aluren, right? So he has 4 Intuition and 4 Aluren. And in addition, cards to help find those are 4 Impulses and a Raven Familiar, which is another kind of cool mini Impulse, but is in the form of a creature, so you can use that and bounce it and stuff. Another way to find stuff. You can go off with just like Aluren, Raven Familiar, and a bounce creature. Boy, I am having a little bit of trouble seeing what cards are in play for Bob with his animated playmat here. Looks like a Wall of Roots, a land. I assume another land, and I assume another land. But I cannot be sure. Oh, no, that's a Mox Diamond. So I was Mox Diamond X, and then this is a Wall of Roots, I think. Yeah. So, it might be a little hard to figure out exactly what's going on in his board all the time. I think he just played the green surprise and scary Hickory Woodlot because it came into play tapped. So it looks like he might have 2 of those in play. Hickory Woodlot is one of the depletion lands.
Yeah.
Has 2 counters. You remove 1 and add 2 mana of the color. There's one for each color.
We've seen a few of those today. We saw Sappers and Scary earlier today. And I know I have, was it Peat Bog in
Peat Bog,
my Necro deck. Yeah, they show up a surprising amount in in middle school. They're pretty effective. They're better than the I guess they are better than the Fallen Empires lands.
Yeah, I believe that's an Aluren, and I believe as a result, this game is over. Yep.
I agree.
Caffrey cannot interact on the
Yeah.
stack at all with his main board.
Yeah, and he doesn't have much of anything to end that combo.
In the sideboard, he has a couple options.
Yeah, in the sideboard he does. He will have Stifle. He's got Naturalizes to go ahead and kill the Aluren. But sorry, man.
Yeah. So this is a tough thing about this matchup is that, it can go very quickly for the Aluren player. Sometimes you have all the parts and it looks really, really good, and then sometimes you can't find an Aluren, or your intuition gets countered or whatever, and it gets real tough.
Right.
And we'll note too, Eric's deck is playing Ports, Wastelands, and a Dust Bowl.
Right.
So the deck that Bob is playing has a lot of non-basics, like a lot. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bob's deck list.
Yeah, Bob did everything in that game, so we'll look at his deck first.
Well, and that's another thing about Caffrey's deck. It isn't a deck that looks like it's doing a whole lot until it really starts.
Until it wins, right?
Yeah, until it wins. So, Bob's deck list has not very many basics, which is a thing that could be to Caffrey's advantage depending on stuff. The other thing I'll note too about that game, it looked like Caffrey didn't play an Exploration or a Mana Bond, and both of those are pretty critical to his game plan.
Right.
I think to the point that he's running at least 5 of that effect, if not more. Oh, I'm sorry. He's running the full 8.
He's got 8, yeah.
Yeah. So Mana Bond's super important, or Exploration. Like, he just needs something to catch up with these faster decks.
Right.
And, sometimes that's not going to happen. But yeah, so looking at Bob's list, the sideboard is a little bit tough. As you mentioned, he's running Living Wish. So a lot of his sideboard is taken up by Living Wish targets.
Yeah, is this a case where you think that maybe he didn't see enough of Caffrey's deck? Does he know what Caffrey's playing, and would he think maybe I should bring in Xantid Swarms because I saw an island, or
misdirections?
Yeah, or misdirection.
It's certainly possible.
Or does he just leave everything in the board and stay powerful main deck?
Yeah, I suspect if you see that many blue lands, you think that there's counters, which is a mistake in this instance, because Caffrey doesn't have them.
Right.
We can, and we'll take a look at Caffrey's deck to see what he has available. But I suspect Bob's not gonna sideboard much unless he puts Caffrey on something else.
Right.
For Eric's list, I mean, as we were saying, he doesn't run counter spells. So if he puts him on those, that's going to be a fair amount of dead cards in the main. But for Caffrey, as you said, I think Naturalize is a card that should come in. Of note, everything that's going on with Aluren is instant speed, so it can win through a Naturalize if it has a redundant combo piece in hand, which is not super hard to do. And it's kind of a nice thing about Aluren as opposed to some of the other ones where, like, oh no, I drew a combo piece. In this case, it's actually to your benefit.
Sure.
Stifle is a card you might bring in just because, like, stifling that first Imperial Recruiter trigger or something, if they don't have redundant pieces, is good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll bring that in. It's, 6 of one, half dozen of the other as to whether or not that's correct.
Well, I mean, they're probably better than Moment's Peace, right?
Oh, yeah, almost assuredly better than Moment's Peace.
We're taking out Moment's Peace at least for the Naturalize, but I mean, maybe Stifle is better than Naturalize even? Who knows? Well, I mean...
I think Naturalize is better because like it in the event that they can still go off, either is bad. In the event that they can't go off, they don't have an Aluren anymore, but in the Stifle case they do. I think you'd rather have Naturalize. But he might cut some more cards. I mean, he could potentially cut some lands.
Yeah.
He does run a lot of them, but that's an option. He could cut a copy or two of Mystical Tutor. The Nostalgic Dreams, I think, could be cut potentially.
It's probably redundant here.
Yeah.
Or unnecessary, rather.
But I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure Caffrey has a plan.
It kind of doesn't matter because he has to play anyway, whether he has a plan or not.
That's true.
Okay.
And it looks like they're about ready to go. So let's take a look, and maybe we'll see a little bit more from Caffrey this time with an opt or not an opt, an exploration or a mana bond early.
There you go. That's a mana
There's
bond.
that mana bond.
He
Resolves.
just poops 5 lands into play.
Yeah, so in the ideal case, right, he wants to poop 5 lands into play and then immediately draw 4 or 3. So, oh yeah, he mulled, so 3 lands.
Yeah, he mulled.
And then draw like Mystical Tutor into whatever. This is a pretty good opening.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, he's got standstills in there. I totally overlooked those the first time I looked at the list, and that'd probably be pretty good here.
And the fact that he has the port means that he can
buy some time.
He can buy some time, and it looks like Bob did bring in that Xantid Swarm. So
is that double port? Yeah.
Yeah, double port plus a factory.
Yeah, so Caffrey can slow things down pretty well here, and we know that Bob has the Xantid Swarm, but it probably doesn't actually do anything relevant.
Yeah, I think this will come down to whether or not he can assemble 6 mana.
He's got to get 6 mana and Aluren, and Caffrey needs to get the rest of his combo. He needs to get more lands and the upheaval.
Upheaval, yeah. What a silly deck.
I'm loving this. This is great.
Yeah. He decides to go off of double port here, which is interesting. I guess you can't get Aluren, because even if all of his 2 mana lands either come to play tapped or win, he's colorless.
Right.
So there's no danger of getting Aluren cast this turn, unless he has Mox Diamond, I guess. Oh, he's casting something. Impulse in the upkeep.
Impulse. Yeah.
Man, I've had a couple of conversations with people about remembering when Impulse was like the premier. I don't want to call it a cantrip, but that it filled that role in a lot of these decks.
Oh, sure.
Before there were fetch lands for Brainstorm, before people had really totally figured out land grab Brainstorm, like Impulse was just such a powerful card. It saw so deep. It was inexpensive.
It saw very deep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've played it in Vintage.
I've never played it in Vintage. I'm surprised, but fair.
It's an instant. It costs 2. Yeah. It fits into the proper place in some decks. I mean, I don't think I would play it now necessarily, but I have played it in Vintage.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely a powerful card. I could see it. I think there are decks for which seeing a volume of cards is more powerful than like drawing 2. And like if you compare it to it's the black one that people play. It's like 1 in a black, lose 2 life, draw 2 cards.
Oh, yeah, Night's Whisper.
Yeah, Night's Whisper. Like that's a card that sees play, and it's I would say it's comparable to that, an instant rather than sorcery, and like sees deeper rather.
And you don't lose life. Right.
Yeah. And blue is a better color than black, I think.
Yeah, I mean, head to head, sure.
And it looks like Caffrey is tapping down 2 lands here, as we suspected. It sounds like Bob is down to 11. Another Impulse? Yeah, it looks that way. Oh man, Caffrey's deck might pull through this one. Mana Bond, what a card. I don't want to call it too early. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of games still to play here, but man, it's a pretty cool one.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, we don't know what's in Caffrey's hand. I mean, if he has an upheaval, or I mean, even a standstill or something, like.
Yeah, or
you can get pretty far ahead. And obviously he's ahead now. Right.
I kind of suspect that the card in his hand is not a standstill, because I feel like he would have played it last turn.
He would have played it, right?
But my guess is naturalize or upheaval, and he's he doesn't want to put himself to a point where he's upheavaling, and like potentially losing to a counterspell.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that upheaval early.
And I mean, it's not like you can't get to a point where you can like both upheaval and port in this deck. Like, he has a lot of lands.
Right.
So I think Bob's at 9 at this point. Double port, I think he said was fine. So, I mean, he's done a pretty good job of making all of his land drops. Those impulses certainly helped.
Mm-hmm.
And Caffrey has not drawn any Wastelands or a Dust Bowl to go along with his mana denial plans. So we'll see. I mean, there's a chance for Bob to just win right here, right? Caffrey takes 0 from Xanted Swarm. Covered in bees.
They're covered in bees. That'll be real disappointing if that last card in his hand is Stifle.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious if he stifled a Xanted Swarm activate, or like a Xanted Swarm trigger. What do you do in that instance?
What?
High five through the screen. It looks like he missed a land drop, which is but he cast Living Wish for Imperial Recruiter, which is interesting. If you have enough mana, he has a land in his sideboard that he can get with Living Wish. I'm surprised he didn't get the City of Brass there. Unless he's sandbagging a land, along with an Aluren in his opener, in his hand. But man, if Caffrey draws and plays a Wasteland right here, it's devastating to that plan. And also, you have to wonder, I guess he has a fair amount of cards in hand, but if you just say, screw it, I'm going to play through the counter and just cast Upheaval, it's pretty devastating.
You might be considering Upheaval.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely Upheaval and cast Mana Bond here. You have enough mana.
Right. And it sets your opponent back. I mean,
I think it wins in the game, actually.
Yeah, right.
It's just if you're worried that it'll resolve versus the chances that he'll have the 4th land to go along with the Aluren and the Imperial,
right.
Yeah. One of those judgment calls. I'm sure math could tell us which is the correct call, but I don't know offhand.
Do it.
Cast Upheaval. The crowd wants to see it.
Do it.
Do something crazy. Do something. All right. So yeah, what do you?
I'm just gonna text him. I'll just be like, "Do it."
What you'd cast the Upheaval here then for sure?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm an agent of chaos. I would definitely do that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Bob doesn't have that much interaction, right? It's 4 Force of Wills you're playing against or playing around. And if he sided in Misdirection, that doesn't do it.
Yeah, right. Well, but I mean, Caffrey doesn't know his opponent's list.
Sure.
He's going to know that his opponent has
cast a bunch of blue spells. Yeah. And played Xanted Swarm instead of Defense Grid or something like that.
Right.
Looks like he decided not to go for whatever he was contemplating. Left up a blue. So maybe Stifle is the last card.
I wonder if it is Stifle.
He kind of, I mean, that'd be a cool way to win here if you go, he plays the land, he plays Aluren, he plays the Imperial Recruiter, has no cards left, and then you stifle the trigger. Then you can't stop people on your own turn. Like, that'd be a pretty solid line.
Woof.
Yeah. I mean,
yes, he will be covered in bees.
It's true. Although maybe,
or his opponent will just pass back.
Yeah, he didn't attack with that set of bees. It looked like to me. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the reason to get Recruiter there is like it buys you a bunch of turns because you can cast Recruiter and then get another one, and cast Recruiter and get another one, and like keep blocking if you need to when it comes to that.
Right.
Ooh, the second man land from Caffrey is powerful. It is. I mean, I think that makes it like a turn 2 clock.
You're not wrong. It's just the words you say and the order you say them. We're just like, the extra man land. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's an intuition cast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Bob has to build up against what's coming out of Caffrey's deck. and he has to worry about potentially walking into a better upheaval. But
it looks like he did get 3 lands though off this intuition. So
right,
the fear for Caffrey is that the cards remaining in his hand are Aluren, Inferior Recruiter, and he goes for it. I mean, he'll go for it because he has Zanded Swarm if he has it. So
right.
We just have to. I think if we're Caffrey, we have to hope that he does not have
Aluren.
Aluren.
Because we know he has the Imperial Recruiter, right?
Yeah, and 2 of those lands are woodlots too. So it's a tough spot for him to have gotten there. Swing with the Insect is bad news for Caffrey. Covered in bees.
Oh no.
It really depends what his life total is. He might lose here. Oh yeah. So yeah, Caffrey's entered the reveal step. Oh, he had a standstill in hand as another card.
Oh, was he? He must have been considering playing the standstill.
I think he was, and then he said, "I'm not going to worry about the standstill."
Yeah, because it doesn't actually slow his opponent down, and if he can't interact, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's showing the camera the stifle. I mean, I think the argument for that is like it digs you to more interactive spells. So if you have double stifle, you can beat this hand or like naturalize plus stifle plus.
Sure, but then he's not attacking. I mean, he's not.
It's just one turn where you're not attacking.
Well, right, but I mean, for that one turn, if you're worried about it, like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we were talking, where was Bob at on life? He was pretty low, I think. Or getting lower.
Well, I think that's what they're talking about here is like how much life he'll be able to do. Yeah, there you get Spike Feeder.
Yeah, because he'll be able to.
Yeah, gain 2 each loop.
Gain more life.
An Ambassador Liquatus. Yeah, Geechu's Linger, Ambassador Liquatus. Yeah, he's just showing off how the deck works.
Yeah.
Because when you play Aluren, you don't actually get to execute the combo all that often. Yeah, and I think Caffrey is just talking to him about the stifle and that the Xantid form was good, even though it shouldn't be good against him. Which is
right.
But I think this has been a pretty interesting match. But it's tough for Caffrey's deck if he couldn't find that upheaval or a mystical tutor. That was what he really needed to do. If he finds an upheaval before the 6th land and or the Imperial Recruiter, like he ended up having tutors for both. But if he finds it before either of those happens, and to be fair, he did get a little bit unlucky. He never saw Wasteland. He had those initial 2 ports, and then he never saw another way to interact with the lands. But he also doesn't have any extra way to draw cards. So besides that, so yeah, cool match. I was into both those decks. I'd love to ask both of them some questions.
Well, I think we have a good amount of time. We have almost half an hour left in the round, so we can definitely talk to as many people as we want.
All right, so we're gonna try and grab them to get a little conversation going, and in the meantime, we'll be right back, and maybe we'll even get somebody else on screen. All right, thanks everybody.
Oh gosh.
Hello.
Hi, we're back with our competitors from last round. This is Bob Agra and Eric Caffrey. Bob was playing the Aluren deck, and Caffrey was on Upheaval Lands. Welcome. Congratulations, Bob. Sorry, Caffrey.
Yeah.
You know what? It's all good. That last game, I was so close. It was like, if he didn't port in the bees, if like I had a situation where like I had to either had to force down his lands and hope they didn't draw 4th mana, or play standstill and try to stifle the B activation, but then that would just trigger standstill for him instead of me. So like there's no way I could draw extra stifles. So I had to like draw have like 2 stifles at the same turn. It was brutal.
Yeah, we were talking about what was making you like think. We're like, does he have an upheaval and he's scared that he has a force to fight it off? And I was like, and Nat's like, cast it. It's time to cast the upheaval.
Yeah, no. That would have been the easiest thing because that is just like a ticking time bomb. Like you can only port so many turns.
Yeah. Well, and you.
Okay.
I was just gonna say you missed out on hitting a Wasteland or Dust Bowl too after you got the ports going, which I think would have been devastating.
Yeah, I was telling him like the first mulligan in game 2, I was just like every mana bond hand that I've had turn 1 has been like mana bond, 2 ports, and basic lands. Like there's like 25 non-basics in the deck, and I hit 2 ports, and that's it. And it's just it is what it is.
Well, and Bob, you put on a show for us there, showed off how Aluren works.
Sure did. It once it gets 4 mana, it can go off. But I've never had an intuition for a basic before.
So that's awesome. That was really
there
cool.
you go.
It's exactly the card I needed. So
we're breaking new ground here in middle school.
What? And you had a good little chain there of like impulses into lands to be able to like keep making land drops, because that was the thing. I was like, it doesn't run that many lands that you can run into trouble there, but it went pretty well.
Yeah, the woodlots really got me out of it because they become the optimal target for that stuff, and they just soaked up those ports. And I was surprised the insect lived the whole game. Those things usually soak up removal like nobody's business, but I was really happy to have it.
I think exactly 0. Forcing a chump block with a Fairy Conclave, I think is probably it.
Yeah. So Eric doesn't have any ways to deal with the Xantid Swarm. We were talking about it before the game, where it was just like those Xantid Swarms aren't going to be good against Eric unless Eric also brings in Stifles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and the naturalized too, it works.
Yeah, and the naturalized, but it was still like
yeah.
Is Bob going to bring these in without knowing that his opponent doesn't have any actual counterspells, and you did?
Yeah,
so.
I actually ran into that in the first round too, where where you see like Conclave and Treetop Village and Standstill, and you just think it's just Still or some other like land type of deck.
That was my
Instead
thinking.
of there being like 30 extra lands.
You potentially don't show your opponent enough cards to tell them, hey, don't bring in Xantid Swarm against me.
Were you surprised there, Bob, on turn 1 when he went mana bond to play 4 lands?
Yeah, I was. I thought I was quite a bit behind, but he had an empty hand, and I think that just played out well, where I was able to go through cards easier.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask you a couple questions about your list. Arctic Merfolk versus the Manowar. Have you run into problems ever where you want to bounce like the opposing creature when you're trying to buy time to find the combo? Or
you know what? If I'm already losing, if that's ever the case, and that's never going to get me far enough ahead. And the real difference there is the returning a creature to your hand is part of the cost. It's not something that can be countered, as part of the ability on the creature itself. So it's so relevant. And I used to play Man of War, and I'll never go back to that.
Okay, I mean that's good to know. I feel like that's innovative, especially like there because there are other options, and we can't play the whatever the best card is or that people play sometimes in the legacy version. That's whatever it's like a 1/5 Dream something.
Dreamstalker.
Dreamstalker. There it is.
I know that's because Jerry goes that in tournaments all the time.
Oh. 1/5.
I'm gonna go 1-5, and I'm gonna Dreamstalk this tournament for sure.
The other question I was going to ask you was, you're playing Laquatus as your backup kill, with the Wall of Roots. Do you like Laquatus over Maggot Carrier generally, or is is it just that you can cast it? I don't.
You could pitch it to Force of Will.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Force of Will is a big determiner there. No, yeah, I think it's a really solid build of the list. I've seen a bunch of different versions. You do have a pretty painful mana base, but I mean that's middle school.
Yeah, it's just the enemy colors. There's no fetch lands that would really help out. I mean, Foothills doesn't really do anything when you blue and green. Predominantly.
And you're not interested in like Reflecting Pool or Gemstone Mine or any of that stuff.
I am, but I just have found this to be more effective. My life total as a combo deck is more or less irrelevant for most matchups.
Yeah. Have you tried out? I hesitate to suggest it. Have you tried out another color and playing black for Limdul's Vault?
I love Limdul's Vault. That's something I play in blue-black dragon combo. I have not tried it in Aluren. It's something to consider, and certainly when you need so many cards for a combo engine, Limdul's is great when you're looking at 5 at a time, sorting them as you wish. But no, I've not gone into any other colors. I think rug is already pretty thin, and I don't really give myself. I mean, there's 3 City of Brass, but I don't really give myself opportunity often to cast Cavern Harpy from.
Have you thought about white
mana,
too?
Well, white gives you a different way to gain life.
Really good.
There's a lot of great cards.
Get your destroyed Alurens back.
Sure.
Yeah. No, that's a cool one. So the access to red is more about occasionally having to cast a Imperial Recruiter or Gitu Slinger, like a Meddling Mage or something.
Yep,
is that the
exactly.
idea? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, the Gitu Slinger is literally in there for Meddling Mage, and there is technically a way where you just combo off with a Recruiter, no, I'm sorry. You have the Gitu Slinger, the Cavern Harpy, and the Arctic Merfolk. You could just pick it up 10 times and slam your opponent for 20.
Yeah, that's what Jake usually does in his builds.
Yeah, I like the Gitu Slinger as one of the options for killing, just because it also can kill Meddling Mage, and like that's a really good card against us.
Certainly.
But yeah, I think Laquatus is fine. I think Mega Carrier is fine. I have run builds that don't have Force of Will because I don't have a high enough blue count because I'm running just different stuff. But
right.
And like Xantid Swarm's main because they're really good. Yeah, so Caffrey, I mean, I'd love to ask you questions about your list. When you chose the forests versus the other arts, no, I'm just kidding. That was a hilarious joke that I made about the fact that your deck has a lot of lands in it.
Are you making fun of my unstable lands in a format?
No, they're beautiful.
That ends in 2003.
They're gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, so the big question for me, because I've played against you a lot, is how has Nostalgic Dreams been? Because that wasn't in there before.
Literally haven't cast it once. Haven't seen it. In theory, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is like a lot of the times I'll end up having like turn 1 mana bond with like 4 lands, so it's like worth it to keep, and then I'll discard like Mystical Tutor, and it's just like just playing off the top for the rest of the game. Okay.
That was what you discarded. It was great. Now watch you do that.
Yeah, or like you'll discard one of the 4 upheavals, and then you're just like, all right, well, I can stop the game for a few turns, but then like, I'm doing literally nothing but playing lands. So,
is there any benefit to holding on to the Mystical Tutor and waiting until second turn to play the Mana Bond?
I was thinking about doing something like that. I don't know.
Because you Mystical Tutor and then play Mana Bond, discard your hand, and draw the card that you tutored for next turn, right? So you could set up the.
You'd have to like Mana Bond and Mystical in the same turn.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
But yeah, you could probably do something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely options with respect to like the Mana Bond thing, but I think there is something powerful in a deck, especially when you have double port, to just be like, well, you're going to be on 1 mana for a while.
Yeah. Right.
So,
like, I feel like if some of those islands or if some of those other basics were treetops, I think the game would have been over. I think I probably would have won beforehand, but I don't know.
Some of those, none of those other basics can be treetops because you have 4 of them. So I mean, you could.
Right, but if I had
in that particular hand.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. In that hand. Yeah, sure.
And then the only other question I really had for you was about the sideboard. Train route. Okay. It's garbage. All right. I was going to say train routes is an interesting choice.
I actually really like trade routes. It's like a combat trick. It's dope. Like if all of my creatures are lands,
damage
a
on
1
the
mana.
stack. Yeah, that's cute.
damage on the stack in response to burn or swords, just return it and then mana bond it back into play at the end of the turn. I mean,
Oh,
okay.
interesting.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, that line's cute. I didn't see that one. That's cool.
It hasn't really come up. It did come up in the first match of the day when I was playing against Angelo playing Armageddon. I did trade routes a bunch of lands back in my hand.
Nice.
So,
that's amazing.
I still lost because he had 6 power and 2 mana dude to play. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think this like direction of a deck is real interesting. I don't know. There just aren't that many cool lands in middle. Like, I mean, excuse me, that's not true. There's a bunch of cool lands. There are very few lands that do things besides make mana in middle school.
Right.
Or like the man lands are just way too expensive. Like Mishra's Factory is by far and away the best one.
Oh
Like-
yeah. I mean, Treetop Village is a really powerful card in the format, but I agree. I mean,
Really, this whole deck came about because I really wanted to play Treetop Village, and like the best use for Treetop Village, at least in my opinion, is to play it under a standstill. And so that's how the deck started. And then it ended up being that like the random 1 of 2 of upheaval that I had in there that was like just a throw in ended up being really, really good. So I just maxed all those. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, this is a fun deck for me too, just because it wasn't a deck that ever existed. And like my favorite things for middle school, and I mean, Bob's has this to a certain extent too, because we didn't have access to Imperial Recruiter then, and like there's just options that we get to have. But like, yeah, seeing decks that just didn't ever exist.
Yeah, well, seeing Andy's deck today blows my mind. I had never ever thought to Oath of Druids a Psychotog into play. Never ever. Never have I thought to turn 1 green mana and 1 colorless mana into 1 blue mana, 1 black mana, and 1 colorless mana. Never, ever. It kind of blew my mind. It's like it's an amazing moat, like all the time. So
yeah. Well, it's like Cognivore. It's similar to Cognivore, but better if you don't if you just draw it. It's way better than Cognivore, right? So yeah, I think that's a cool deck. To be fair, we haven't seen a non-cool deck today.
We've been watching a lot of cool decks. This format looks great on camera because everything is interesting.
Yeah, every game is like kind of close.
And I think there's only like 1 repeated deck in the format, and it's not even really a repeat. Like there's a Tax Rack White Weenie and Red deck and a White Weenie and Red deck that runs Land Tax but doesn't run Scroll Rack that are like similar.
Right.
But I think that's it. Like beyond those, I think everything is its own deck.
What do you think of the Tinker deck in this? I think he's 3-0, right?
It looked very good. So to spoil some of his technology, I'm sorry, you guys are unlikely to play against him.
I did play him last round.
Oh, there you go.
I lost in 3.
Snake Basket.
I'm not going to play against him right now. I'm 1-3. Okay.
Snake Basket is a hell of a card.
Oh, Snake Basket.
I didn't think of that one.
Great card.
He has that
that
and
5 mana thing that you tap X and you put X 1/1s into play
and sacrifice it.
Yeah. Okay.
He also has a coat of arms that he can tinker for to make them gigantic.
Those are big snakes.
Those are big snakes, and he can just hardcast it, right? Because he has metal workers. I think that version is cool. It's pretty different than some of the ones I looked at. I certainly didn't just miss Snake Basket somehow, but it still feels like
your Skyfall at all, right? It didn't come up at all. You didn't.
I'd like to see it against one of the like pure control decks. I think John's deck probably has a fair amount of game against it, or like just the regular Psychotog or regular Standstill decks probably do pretty well against that deck. He has defense grids in the sideboard, but yeah, I think that's the real answer to that deck.
Yeah, I wonder if it was maybe a mistake. I don't know. Looking at his games against Andy, like they were so over so fast. I don't know. Like the Mishra's Helix plus Winter Orb is just a combo that is just crazy good.
It is, but it's not like it's super easy always to assemble that. And there's a bunch of things that are super good against that too. Jackal Pup, Mox Diamond, Manowar Elf are all cards that you definitely don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, I mean, of course, they can also get Masticore. Like, that's the two sides. So, like, Masticore is good against some decks, and Mishra's Helix is good against the other ones.
And do you really like? I don't know. Is it worth it to make a meta that you have to play Mana Dorks in? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think
that's like an interesting question because
I think decks with
it
counter spells are good
probably
against
should have been unbanned. But just seeing him just like completely lock out Andy, who had like cards to play again in the matchup that fast. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Duress and Cabal Therapy are also super good cards against Tinker.
Yeah, and you are like his what was it? His game 3 was like turn 1 Metalworker, turn 2 make 1,000 mana. Like so.
Yeah.
If you had like a counter spell or any swords or anything like that, it's probably okay. But
yeah. No, and we talked to him about that too. That like generally Metalworker is very fragile, and
Right.
like that's a thing. But
I think it's why we don't see it too much.
I mean, honestly, if Oath is hurt by Tinker being unbanned, I'm like kind of happy about that. Like if it makes Oath still worse than the regular standstill deck, that might be like a little bit better for the format. Because I think that deck is very good. I think Oath still is like probably the best or second best deck in the format. And I mean, yeah, it's tough. We'll see. I'm glad to see that it is getting played. I'm glad to see that there was instantly new technology found in the form of Snake Basket. Although even he was saying like he was like, "This is the card I wanted to play," and the Tinker just made it way better. But like Snake Basket's why I'm here. And I was like, fair. But yeah, that's the only Tinker deck. And he was saying he thought maybe people would be a little bit scared of to play Tinker because it's on everyone's mind. I think he was overestimating Team Sirius with respect to like strategic thinking.
Yeah,
Pretty casual.
Yeah.
Team Sirius is like good at drooling. Like we're
Drinking.
yeah.
So yeah, what have you got? What's your favorite deck that you guys have each played against today?
Bob's. I played against 2 Lantex decks in round 1 and 2. So playing against Lantex when you're a mana bond deck is like not fun.
That is tough.
Yeah,
It's not
I got to
fun.
play
It's
against
like-
Suicide Black. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
Hatreded
yeah.
out on turn 3,
Oh,
like 2 games in a row. Yeah, it was really great. I had no way to interact with it at all. I never had force, and I pretended like I had a lightning bolt when he went down to 2 life, but I did not.
What did he have to accelerate it out since there's no Dark Ritual? What was he using?
My favorite technology, which is Lake of the Dead. So when you can hatred on turn 3 with Lake of the Dead.
Oh yeah, that is pretty spicy.
A swamp for 4 black.
Yeah,
5, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
For I think it's
4.
I think it's 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
4,
you could,
you're
but
right,
you
It's 4, but you can tap the
sack,
swamp first.
you
Yeah.
swamp. Yeah, swamp you sack. It's pretty great.
He also, I'm looking at this list because I'm in love. I heard you talking about it. He also has Culling the Week.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, but he started off with a duress, and both games it was duress, and then turn to him, and that was pretty much it. So
Yeah.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah. I feel like Culling the Week is pretty dope. You can go like turn 1 Carnophage, turn 2 Carnophage or Sarcomancy, Culling the Week, Hatred kill you.
it's a very fragile deck, but when it goes off, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and Duress and Him to Turok go a long way.
Oh sure, yeah. They just shredded my hand both times.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. That's an awesome list. Cool. I'm glad you guys have played some fun Magic today. I was intrigued by your matchup. I feel like I'm a huge fan of Aluren as a deck, and Caffrey's
almost to a creepy extent. You have tried to make Aluren work since like day 1, second one of this format. I'm pretty sure you just made the format to play Aluren. Like,
no, I made it so that Enchantress was the best deck because that's my favorite deck of all time besides High Tide.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Sadly, I couldn't convince anybody that we should just make High Tide legal for no reason.
If we're doing that, I vote for Eternal Witness also. All right. You get High Tide, I get Eternal Witness.
Deal. 100%.
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time to talk. We have a little bit more time left in this round, so if you need to go get some food or drink or whatever, enjoy. And I think that's probably it. Unless Nat, you have any more questions for these guys?
No, I'm good. Yeah, we got 10 minutes left in the round. We have one match we're waiting on, and then we'll get on to round 5 pretty soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys for putting it on. I really appreciate it.
It's been a blast.
Let me take a day off work.
Yeah.
Work is right there. They're mad at me.
Glad you're
Trivia was so
enjoying
much
it.
fun yesterday too.
Oh,
thanks
good.
for the trivia night.
Yeah, no problem. That's always a pleasure to do.
It was well worth it to set my alarm for 8 in the morning.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks everybody, and yeah, we'll be back in probably 15 minutes or so, maybe 20, depending on how hard it is to get people wrangled. Thanks a lot.